This is following a series of massive tornadoes in the St. Louis region. We also had quite a few tornadoes in southeast Missouri. As you can see, the devastation is absolutely unbelievable. I walk these streets myself.
Cameron Hamilton, former Navy SEAL. The man Donald Trump once running the Federal Emergency Management Agency. And on this Wednesday, he walked into the Senate Homeland Security Committee thinking he was ready for anything.
You've got buildings completely destroyed, homes absolutely razed to the ground, churches whose roofs were lifted off, whose sanctuaries were completely destroyed, streets that were ripped up. And the problem is that many of these neighborhoods don't look a lot different now because in some cases they're still waiting for relief. Now, FEMA, I'm glad to say that the president approved Missouri's disaster relief for FEMA, and it did go out the door, which is terrific, but we had to wait a long time for it. And the reason for that was FEMA at the time was very slow in getting on the ground, in doing their damage assessments, and then making the recommendations to the White House that under the statute are the necessary prerequisite for unlocking that aid. And I wish I could say that this was a one-off, but it's not in my experience. In my experience in the state of Missouri, when we have a natural disaster, FEMA is slow. FEMA is often ill-informed. FEMA does not interface well with residents. I remember one incident when we had severe flooding in the state a few years ago, where FEMA not only took forever to get on the ground and get a disaster declaration ready to go for the president, but also when it came to awarding individual aid, which was needed in these tornadoes too, by the way, when it came to awarding individual aid, FEMA awarded individual aid to some farmers whose houses have been completely destroyed and then later tried to claw it back. I kid you not, went to the farmer and said, you know, actually, we know that you applied and we approved it and we gave it to you several months ago, but we changed our minds and we want it all back. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It is absolutely ridiculous. So here's my question to you. I think what your agency does is hugely important. We know it is in the state of Missouri. And by the way, we just had a bunch more tornadoes just a few weeks ago for which we need aid and relief. My question is, will you come in and take the reins of this agency and make it actually work for the people of my state and every state who, when they're facing these disasters, they need quick relief, they need quick responses. Our citizens need to know what's available to them, how to apply, how to get the relief they need. Will you take the reins on this agency and start making it work?
Yes, Senator. It would be my privilege and honor to serve the American people and to do just that.
Good. I think it's absolutely vital, and I can't emphasize enough to you how important it is in my state. I just want to ask you before I move on, I wrote to the president along with every other member of the Missouri delegation just a week and a half ago supporting my governor's request for disaster relief for those April tornadoes that I mentioned. This is in process now, I believe, with the agency. Will you work to expedite this, to cut red tape, to get these disaster declarations when they're requested, to get them approved, to move them on up the chain so that this relief that is statutorily available can flow to neighborhoods like this who need it desperately?
Absolutely, Senator. I think the disaster declaration process and also the federal mentorship that goes into it needs to be improved. I believe states need to receive better customer service. I have full faith and confidence in the FEMA workforce, but we can do better. And there's a significant amount of areas where that process should be simplified, better understood, and we owe you answers, I think, much faster.
Good. That's music to my ears. That's music to my ears, and I know it will be to the citizens of Missouri. We need better service. We need it faster. We need clear direction. And folks need to be able to apply for their individual assistance, understand what they're getting and when they're going to get it. So I'm counting on you to make changes in all of those areas. Mr. Cummins, it's great to see you. Thank you for being willing to do this job. I just want to give you a chance to respond to something that the Biden administration was doing that at the time, a year and a half ago now, 2 years ago, that at the time I thought was so ridiculous. I actually wrote to the administrator at the time of TSA about this. The Biden administration was allowing illegal aliens who did not have ID to use warrants for their arrest, to use actual civil immigration arrest warrants as a valid form of identification to get on commercial flights. Let me just say that again. They were allowing illegal aliens to use immigration arrest warrants as a form of ID to get on commercial flights. Meanwhile, your everyday law-abiding citizens who maybe don't come from a state that had real ID or what have you, they're having to wait in absurdly long lines. They're having to go through all kinds of process, which your administration, assuming this Congress confirms you, your administration was having to process. Your agents are having to do all of this extra screening because somebody doesn't have a real ID tag. But if you're an illegal immigrant and you have an arrest warrant, right up to the front of the line. I mean, that's just absurd. Wouldn't you agree, number one? And number two, tell me about how you intend to make this agency work better for the American people.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Senator, and I do agree, and I thank you on your office and the chairman's office for investigating the weaponization that was going on in TSA, for investigating these fraudulent ID verification that was happening, and that is definitely going to stop and has already stopped under this administration, and we'll continue to work with you all in the oversight of our agency.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
He was not ready for Josh Hawley. Because Hawley didn't bring talking points. He brought a photograph, a massive blown-up image of St. Louis, Missouri, after the tornadoes ripped through it, and he held it up for the entire room to see. Buildings flattened, homes torn off their foundations, churches with the roofs peeled back like cans, streets that look, in his words, like the storm hit yesterday, not months ago. And here's the part that should make your jaw drop. Hawley told the room he walked those streets himself. He saw it firsthand. And he said something that should embarrass every official sitting behind that FEMA podium, that in some of these neighborhoods, nothing has changed. The rubble is still there. The families are still waiting, because the agency meant to help them moved too slow. And honestly, too clueless about what people on the ground actually needed. You can't make this up. A federal disaster agency, supposedly built for exactly this moment. And the senator from the state that got hit has to bring photos to a hearing just to prove the damage is still sitting there, untouched. And Hamilton? He didn't really fight it. He basically admitted it. He told Hawley, point blank, that FEMA owes people faster answers, that the process is too slow, too bloated, too tangled in red tape. Which, fine, at least he's being honest. But also, come on. This is the man who wants to run the agency, telling a senator on live television that the agency is broken. That's not exactly a confidence builder, is it? But Hawley wasn't done. He made it clear this wasn't a one-off. He said FEMA's pattern is slow, and often flat-out ill-informed when disaster actually hits. Not occasionally. Not in rare cases. A pattern. And then things got even messier. Because this wasn't just a Hawley problem. Democrats on the committee came in swinging from a completely different angle. They pulled up an analysis, and it is not a good look for the agency. The numbers show Republican-led states got their disaster declarations approved at a staggering rate. We're talking close to 90%. Democratic-led states? Barely over 20%. Let that sink in for a second. Nearly 9 out of every 10 requests from red states getting the green light, while blue states are left waiting, rejected, ignored. Senators on the other side of the aisle didn't hold back, accusing the administration of playing politics with people's homes, their safety, their literal survival after a disaster. So now, Hamilton is stuck in the middle of this. Hawley, hammering him from one direction over slow response times. Democrats hammering him from the other over what looks like blatant political favoritism in who gets help and who doesn't. And what did he do? He tried to walk the line. He insisted he doesn't believe the White House is deliberately starving blue states of aid. He promised that under him, FEMA would be objective, fair, consistent, following the law, not politics. But here's the thing about promises in a confirmation hearing. They're cheap. Anyone can say fair and reasonable.